Well, we're back, and guess what came in? This was the most expensive piece out of the entire build. And when you look at this, there's a lot of work that goes into building this piece. I think this could have been built cheaper with some cast aluminum parts, but all these steel parts bent. I can tell by the edge texture that these are, some pieces are stamped, some pieces are laser cut. Right here is a red plastic guide. I think this holds them all in the right plane. And then once you get this in, I'm assuming you're going to pull this ring. The directions don't say anything, but you're going to pull this ring and pull it out. This is the square notch where your shift tower arm rides in. Notice these plastic things. So when we assemble this, this is important because there's holes in each case half, and these push into, and there's two up front, they push into the holes in the case half. You can see a lot of people have issues with these breaking. These ride in the sliders. And the sliders up here, though, it's like this nylon, and there are lots of people who have those break as well. So a lot of them are broken. Mine weren't broken, but you can see them. The other thing that was broken on mine was this right here. This is a little different than mine, unless mine broke, but you have these like little ears on it. Maybe that's an update, I don't know, but mine did not have these ears on it, so I'm not sure what that's all about. And what I'm wondering is, see how you have this discoloration right here? I wonder if that's some form of heat treat to keep the shift tower finger, which rides inside this notch, from pounding or wearing this out prematurely. So that's kind of interesting how this has been heated, maybe even possibly tempered. But there you have it. We're going to go get set up, and we're going to get this thing installed today, and maybe the whole thing done. All right, stay tuned. All right, the first thing I did that I didn't have done is I put this 5/6 slider on. The balls and the detents are going to go in a minute. So put this on, because the next thing that the instructions show is to put the shift fork on, and the ears have to ride within this. So I thought you put this on after you did the flip, but apparently you want this on ahead of time. So with that on, what we are going to try to figure out is this. Now if you notice, you got these indentations here. Let me make sure you guys can see that. These little cubby holes, and these right in there. So I think we're just going to have to kind of come in here, and you're going to have to dink with it to get every single, oh, see, oh my gosh, this popped out. This has to pop in there, that pops in. You know what, there's like 42 things going on at once here, and you're just going to have to see how this just swirls and falls apart. And then now they came out of this. Dang. You need like 4 hands to do this, I'm not kidding. So it looks like this slider might have to come up. All right, so do you see what I'm doing? This has to slide in this one, this one, this one, and this one. So there's 4 sliders. So let me play with this. You're gonna have to jiggle move. This already popped out again. Take like 4 hands, and you have to just get all these pads and all 4 sliders, and then the jig will kind of keep it in place. So there's no sense in me filming for 30 minutes while I struggle with this. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just playing with this 42-piece metal contraption to get all 4 sliders slid in the groove of the metal slider, the slider pads and the metal sliders. So let me just give me some time. Let me get this done, and when I've got it, I'll take you a close-up. Okay, stand by. All right, so I set this on the ground. That way it's too high up on my table and I can't see the top. But I know when we press this case on, this bearing fits really tight on this portion of the shaft, if I'm looking at this right. So I'm just going to put a little bit of anti-seize on this to help that bearing slide on there, maybe. Maybe not, but maybe. Okay. And then I think we're going to take the case. Now notice the case, God, I hope you can see this, has these 2 holes right here. These plastic things slide in those. So that almost tells you that this only can go this way, which I think is absolutely right. Just like that. Ooh, okay. Now, if, all right, let me check here. If you look, bear with me here. Come on, we're going to get fancy. If you look, you see these 2 plastic knobs that I told you about earlier. You can push these and see they lined right up in the hole of the case. So I just push those over. So now they're lined up with the hole in this case. So as I press this on the bearing that I just put the anti-seize on, those are going to guide in to their respective resting place. So I think, well, let me go get my clamp and let me back out. All right, let me go get my clamp and then we'll begin pressing this case on. And the only thing that's press fit is the output shaft that goes on the output shaft bearing is a little press fit, and that's why I'm going to use that big contraption I'll show you here in a second. And we should slide this case right on. Okay, stand by. Okay, so we got our tool. The first thing we do is we thread this tool into the output shaft. We thread that in. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to have to slide this on first. Let me see. Come on. That's interesting. I want to get it right over these ears right here. All right, it's just tight. Now I'm going to stick this through. Center it, stick it through. and I'm going to thread this rod in. All right. God, this is not complicated, but if you remember when we took this off, this bearing goes at the bottom. When you press this on, I think this bearing goes in the top. And then we're going to thread this through. Okay, thread that through, get this lined up with the output. If you don't, you're not going to be able to thread this rod in, right? So this rod, this can be pulled forward or backwards. You're going to get it lined up with this hole in the shaft, or you'll never thread this in. So now what we're going to do, let me grab my wrench. I thought it was like a 7/8 maybe. (15/16). And then 1/2 inch. And then I think what we're going to do is when we turn this, it forces this down and it's holding on to the ears, and it's going to push this on the shaft is what I think should happen. And I think that's exactly what's happening, because I can see it going on. Alright, what a pain in the ass. So, look, here's what you got going on. This is pulling, and the back half is rocking all around. You have to guide these things in, you have to guide the output shaft in, and you have to guide the idler shaft, so you got all these things that are lining up, and it took a few minutes with me struggling to get it to line up. Here's what worked for me. I do a couple of turns on this, and then I tapped it around, and that would kind of center. I do a couple of turns, tapped it around, and it was center. And I could just tell it was falling into place. So I think right now, I think it's pressing on correctly, because now I can see the shaft moving through evenly. I can hear the bearing popping. Okay, so see, now I'm turning all the gears, so I have to hold this. Yeah, it's going on now. I can feel it, I can see it. I'm looking down in here, it's going even. You hear that noise? That's the inner race of the bearing sliding down the shaft that I put the anti-seize on. That's what I want to hear. Okay, and I think I felt it bottom out right there. Yep, we're not going to go anymore. So remember, when you're using this, to put it on, the bearing and nuts on top. To pull it off, the bearing and the nuts on the bottom. And then all we should be able to do is unscrew this. Because remember, the center is threaded into the output shaft. Can you do this without this tool? I think you could. I would have put this on my press and I would have used a round pipe and I would have pushed down on the bearing race, which should have slid it over the shaft. This is worth every dime. I'm just telling you right now. It was like 120 or something. Worth every dime. Miller Tool 9636. Okay. So, if you can see in there, our black plastic things are in their guides. And if you look down in there real close, you can see that the snap ring groove is exposed. So if the snap ring goes on, we went deep enough, right? So let me go grab the snap ring and I'm going to put it in. I'm probably not going to film that unless it doesn't fit, but it's just going to be slide the snap ring over the shaft and it should go right in. Okay, stand by. Okay, I just wanted to show you, you can see the snap ring. I got close to the edge and when I pushed it down, it just clicked into place. Don't forget. All right. Dang, this is a pain in the rear. I had to remove this clip so that I could allow these things to articulate, because the next step is putting the balls in the 4.5. In order to do that, the 4.5 has to be all the way at its down position. And in order to get it to the down position, I had to allow movement. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fight this 4.5 and I think what's interesting is I think I can pull this fork off, pull that plastic tab, this plastic tab, and pull this fork. I think if I get this out of the way, that leaves me more room. So now we're gonna try to put them in. See, I may be locked in a gear, I don't know. Because these forks are all, everything is moving. Alright, so I'm going to do these balls and springs right now. These are the ones that are all three separate. You're just going to have to figure it out. It's just, I use a little screwdriver and wedge and a magnet, and God, don't drop it inside the case or you're going to be fishing balls out. And so, alright, let me dink with this and I'll get right back to you. Alright, remember our tech tip with the grease? I got all three springs put in. They're held in with grease. And then if you go down here to the ball, the other two I got put in, but I fill the hole with grease and then it holds the ball. So just do that. And then the ball. At least it might help you out. But you can see the ball is kind of greased in. Alright, let me do this. I gotta use both hands. Okay. They're all three in. Let me tell you how I did it. You know, probably a million ways. I took this screwdriver and I just kind of pried the spring back and up, and then just enough to give this clearance to wedge in and push it in with my finger, and it popped right in. What I thought would be one of the hardest pain in the rears turned out to be a 2-second job. So all three of those are in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get these bolts Loctited. Well, we're going to put this piece back on, and then we're going to get these bolts Loctited on in place. And then I think we're going to be ready to put the other half of the case on. Okay, hang on. All right, now what we're going to do is we are going to put a little bit of Loctite. I think if one of these came out, it would be catastrophic. So we're going to do, I'm just putting a dab of Loctite on mine. I don't care. And there's 4 of those. These are basically screws, so their torque is going to be in inch-pounds. I don't have an inch-pound torque wrench, believe it or not. So we are just going to gentle tighten these. So now this it's like a mounting plate that holds the shift forks in plane is mounted. All right, give me a second, and then I have to finish assembling the 5/6 synchro. Let me get that put in here. And I think there's a blocking ring. And I think this is about it. Okay, so hold on. All right, so we got the screws Loctited in, the mounting plates for the shift forks. Now what we're going to do is we're going to place this friction ring in. You have to set it in, rotate, and it drops into place. One of the things that I do, and how do I know which way it goes, is almost on all these synchros, the sharp pointy ends point towards the sliders. If you do one of these, you'll know what I mean, because if the slider slides the direction of the ring, it has to hit the point first. So if this slider starts sliding towards the ring, it's going to hit the point first. That's what lines it up. Okay, so that's in. Now this one, let me put a little bit of oil on it. I think this one is the blocker ring. So the cone is up, here's the cone, and then you know that it only goes the one way. It goes basically just like that. And then the very last thing is, God, this rag. I ran out of shop rags. I want to wipe this off. Because we're putting our new bearing on. Let me get a little oil on this bearing. Remember how floppy the other one was? I honestly don't think the rollers wore out. I just think the plastic cage may not have been as tight as this one. Make sure that has a little oil on it. Now, I'm going to get the case, and the case is going to slide down, but remember, input shaft, which is actually 5th gear, has to go over this bearing, and the idler has to go inside the bearing on the other end of the case. So when you put this case on, you got to jimmy it till both of these find their positions. So hold on, let me get prepped for that, and I'll come right back. All right, So what I'm doing now is I got some acetone and I'm just going to clean this case edge. I want to make sure that I have all oils and grease off of this so I get maximum adhesion from the gasket maker. So I want to go all the way around this. I'm going to get some sandpaper on this rusty dowel pen. I think that's what held me up when I was pulling this apart. And I can actually see the old adhesive coming off with this acetone. I'm not a fan of leaks. I would be the dumbass that would take this whole thing back off if this case was leaking. I can see all this old gasket maker coming off with this acetone. And it's leaving this machined edge, which I think is going to give it some mechanical bite to hold the new gasket maker. Yep. Oh, this is working beautiful. This is working beautiful. Hey, wear gloves. This shit will eat your kidneys. I used to use MEK in the aircraft industry. And then we went to MPK, methylpropyl ketone instead of methyl ethyl. And it was a little better, but I always wore gloves. I don't work with this stuff once a year, so I'm just like, whatever. But if you're a young dude, don't be a dumbass like us old dudes. All right, I'm going to clean up this some more. There's no sense in you watching me do this. All right, so let me show you what I did. This is not in the instructions. I put the shift tower on so that I could by hand make sure that every one of my synchros cycled into gear. If I had something bound up, it would be nicer to take this apart without all the sealant on there. Everything shifts. If you're not careful, you'll move this into fifth gear and you'll pop these springs out. So I had to actually hold this down, or else if the ring catches the stop ring, it will pop it up. So I caught that just in time. But I pop into every gear. I think I'm ready to put the case on. I put a little bit of anti-seize because if you remember, this is going to be pressed into that other countershaft bearing that's in this case. So as far as the sealant goes, you know what? Everybody has their favorite. I don't have a favorite. So I just went with this. I don't know if you can see that. I went with that. Dang Claire. So I got it on Amazon. It was stupid expensive, but it says it's for aluminum. So both my mating surfaces are perfectly clean. Now if you see this plastic, and this plastic, they guide in these holes right here. So there's 5 points of entry. This bearing here, your input shaft bearing, and then these 3 things. So when I put this on, I'm guessing I'm going to have to just jimmy it. Jimmy it till the thing goes on. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't know why I can't leave that shift tower on. Oh, I'm going to have to take it off. Remember when you put that countershaft nut in, then I think it's the nut that screws into here. Once we put this on, you have to shift 2 forks and lock 2 gears at once, or you can't torque this. The shaft will turn. So I will have to take that back off. I just thought it would be nice if I knew everything popped into gear. I didn't, maybe that is just a telltale sign that I got things in correctly. All right, so let me get set up. Let me get a beat of this stuff on the case, and then I'll just roll footage and you can just watch me fight it. Okay, hang on. All right, I put the gasket maker on there. Man, this stuff is really thick. Almost coagulated. I wonder if that was like new old stock, because I don't know, I thought it would flow better. And I thought I was getting the opaque white stuff, but this is what it is. We're going to put it together. If it leaks, I guess we'll just figure it out from there. All right, let's see if we can line it up. Oh my God. Let's see if we can line it up. Okay, I feel things going. Oh, things went together. Wow. So I think my issue is this counter shaft is press fit into this other bearing. How can I get that to go down? Let me see, what if I take this? Let me take out the case. Whoa, I think she went. Look at that. All right, let me get the nuts in. This thing torques to 21. We're gonna do torque on this. 21. Let me just get these all started. So it wasn't press fit in that tight, I don't think. I learned something when I was a kid. Always hand thread this aluminum crap in. Because if you cross thread this aluminum, your daddy will bust your ass. Just saying. Just saying. I want to tell you the first time I cross threaded some aluminum. My daddy bust my ass. If you had a daddy like mine, you were lucky. He was actually an amazing mechanic. All right, I'm missing one. What am I missing one? Missing a shook one. Okay. Here's. Let's put the long ones on last. All right, I'm gonna run down 2 short ones, and then I'm going to flip the case. These 2 that I'm going to run down are just going to hold the case in place so they don't fall apart. Okay, that one. And I'm going to do one 180 degrees across. 21 foot-pounds comes up quick, so. Yep, you can see some of that gasket maker squeezing out. Okay, with those in there, I can flip it and I can get to the bolt heads a lot better. Let me see here. Get too old for this shit. Oh, I'm stuck. Okay. Now you can see. I think you can see. I don't know if you can see anything. All right, we got 2 in. That's just to hold our case. Now we're going to put a little PP dot of thread lube, because these had blue on there. All I have is red. I'm sorry. And I found that other short one. Don't ask what I'm doing. I'm just putting a red dot on the ones that don't have it yet. I did this in the beginning and I forgot. Oh, that one doesn't have it. No, you know what? It doesn't have it. It's the red. It's the red crap. I'm like, what? This thing has taken like a month and a half, and I'm like really glad to be done with this. I've already contacted the machine shop, and they're going to do my rebuild. I am not ordering a long block with all these Chinese components. You know what? More power to you, but that's just me. I'm a one and done in a lifetime kind, and I think spend a few extra $100, and a lifetime is just the way to go. Okay, see that red? That's not Loctite, that's sealant. I probably didn't need to do this, but I did it. Okay, I'm going to cheat. And then I'm going to go opposite. Wow, I need to get a swivel. I can't get the angle. Alright, I'm going to go ahead around and torque all these. There's no sense in you guys watching this. I'll be back in a minute. Alright, I kept going around in circles because they just kept slipping a little tighter and tighter. So I would suggest once you do a star pattern, then just keep going around until everything pops. I don't run my torque wrench through my pops. I run my torque wrench up to my pop. I don't over torque. So if I'm sitting in the Jeep, here's neutral, right? Over, up is first. Second, push forward, it finds neutral. Third, fourth, neutral. Fifth, 6th, and reverse, go back to neutral, and you have to pop it, that extra, and I'm in reverse. And then back to neutral. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth. All right. Take 5, we'll put the rest of the seals in. And we have to pull this off because we have to engage 2 gears to put that other bolt in. So let me get prepped for that. Hang on. Okay, output shaft seal. That's the output shaft seal. Be careful reading the instructions because it told me to put this in earlier in the instructions, and you can't, because you have to put this snap ring in and then you put this on. If you put the seal on and put the shaft through the seal, you can't get that snap ring in, and you can't put the shaft through the bearing if the snap ring's in. It's like, I reread it, maybe I'm misreading something, but I was like, what? It don't make no damn sense to me. So, now to be honest with you, I don't know what it would hurt putting a nugget of this on this, to be honest with you. I want to make sure that surface is perfectly clean. Lube this up, don't put it in dry, just saying. You guys know that. Now, I want you to check this out. Let me get my hammer. Miller tool 9638. It has a hole in it that goes over the shaft, and that's what I use to pound this seal. Done. One and done. Perfectly flush. One and done. All right, let me get this flip back over. Okay, we're going to put you on pause. Let me get this flipped over. Hold on. Okay, remember this? Stupid. This threads in to the counter shaft. Problem with this is it's like 74 foot-pounds. I'm going to go check the book to make sure. I think it's 74. And it'll just start spinning the shaft. So what we have to do is we're going to engage 2 gears, and we're going to keep the shaft from spinning. So first thing I need to do is find my e-torque socket. I think that's going to pull that through the bearing. So I'm going to just go until I start turning everything. Yep, see it? So now I gotta go down here to the shift forks. That's why I had to take it back off. And I have to engage. Oh man, they're so freaking tight. They're so tight because everything is so new. Alright, let me engage. It should be these two. There's one. There's two. All right, two gears engaged. She's definitely locked. I'm gonna see if I can hold this case. Oh man, I can't hold the case. This is a clown show. I might have to lay this down. All right, so what I'm gonna do is just lay this down and basically sit on it and torque down towards the floor. But you get, I put a few extra, but it's 74 foot-pounds. I'm putting 76 in it. But I think the flex from the 12-inch extension, I may be less than 74, but it's red Loctited. All right, let me do this real quick and I'll be right back. Yeah, it was freaking comical. All right, torqued. The next thing we do here is we put this in. This is the cover that covers that bullet. It's going to keep the oil from seeping out. So I'm going to put a little bit of this gasket stuff on here. However, I don't think you need to because it has rubber grooves. And I mean, I just put a PP dot. Now, I wonder if this thing will also work on this. Yeah, I think it will. Whoa, what? Look at that. I just felt a little higher. Oh, she's in. All right, so on this side, the throw-out bearing rides on this nose right here, and then I have the shift arm. I'll be ordering I have a list of miscellaneous parts I'll be ordering. Okay, that's neutral. All right. The only other thing left to do is I clean the gunk out of this. I'm going to go ahead and lube this up, and then I'm going to seal this, install it, and then I'm going to just like rotate, put it in each gear, rotate, the shaft, make sure there's no binding. And I think that's going to call it. I think we're going to call it done. I don't know what else there is to do. I mean, there's clutch stuff, but hell, I can't do nothing until I get an engine. That's going to take me a couple paychecks to get an engine, but I'm going to start off by dropping the block off at the machine shop. I got factory bores, so I'm just going to go 20 over. I'll just do a 20 over and call it good. So I don't know if you can see in here, but that's basically neutral when all of those are lined up. That big slot's lined up, that's a neutral. And then I gotta go buy the oil. Man, I'm not even gonna get into it on the type of oil. I used to change oil in Caterpillar equipment in the mines. We never use synthetic. It's all about the additive packages, and we had custom additive packages. And then we did 200-hour oil changes with oil analysis on each change. And those engines were getting 10,000 hours. And they're a couple thousand horsepower running balls to the wall 24/7 for 10,000 hours. An incredible piece of hardware. So oil is hugely important, but I'm telling you, I've used normal API rated stuff off the shelf on the higher end ratings, and I've had zero issues on zero engine, whether it's conventional, synthetic. I could run 530 synthetic, and I could run 530 conventional, and I'd still get a couple 100,000 miles out of my vehicles, because I think it's more important how you take care of them and the frequency of your oil change without being too frequent, but that's a whole nother story. All right, fellas, take care. Send me any messages if you have any questions. Send me any messages if you see if I screwed anything up. I mean, don't be shy. I've never done this before. But it's going to be a while before I can give you a first test drive with the carbon synchros, because we got to work on the engine. All right, peace out. Later.